The other thing I can promise you is our center and our two guards, they're as good as there is in football. And we're going to find a way to get Khalil Mack back, too.
So Gruden not really coming through on those promises. Didn't really find a way to get Khalil Mack back. So, Emmanuel, if you're on the Raiders, how does this make you feel as a member of that squad?
Man, that's tough right there just to hear those words come out. And I'm over here thinking the only way they're going to get him back is if he comes back to Oakland and we're the Chicago Bears. Exactly. That's the only way you're going to get him back. But I tell you what, man, I keep comparing him to Von Miller because he's one of those type players. He's that Von Miller type player. And it's like, how do you get that news? I see all the players, tweeting out, wow. Derek Carr tweeting out, wow. And it's just like, that's how I feel, and I'm not even on that team. And it's definitely going to be shaky, not to have him back because, all throughout training camp, it's like in comparison to Le'Veon Bell not coming back to Pittsburgh, and saying, I'm just going to sit out. It's going to be a shock and it's going to do something to you at first. But then you got to get over and you got to move on. So that's what they got to do.
Yeah, the Raiders last year, 56 sacks. That was 31st best in the league, which means it was second worst. And, of course, Khalil Mack had 10.5 of them. Now, John Gruden, he's going to address the media top of the hour, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. The Khalil Mack trade will be the major talking point. We're going to bring it to you live right here on NFL Total Access. But until then, let's keep it in the AFC West. The Broncos parting ways with former first-round draft pick Paxton Lynch, the former Memphis quarterback, starting just 4 games during his tenure in Denver. So let's turn our attention to Tom Pelissero. Tom, what more can you tell us about the quarterback carousel that's currently going on in Denver?
Well, the Broncos kept Paxton Lynch on the 53-man roster, even though he had lost out on the number 2 job to Chad Kelly. But John Elway always intended to monitor cuts around the NFL, see if they could add another veteran to the room, and that's what the Broncos did today, claiming Kevin Hogan off of waivers from Washington. Depth chart still the same at the top. Case Keenum starts. Kelly is number 2. Hogan replaces Lynch as number 3. Let's take a step back for a second. And remember, the Broncos traded up in the first round for Paxton Lynch just 2 years ago, and they were not the only team. The Kansas City Chiefs wanted to come up and get Lynch. The Dallas Cowboys wanted to come up and get Lynch. He's still only 24 years old, does have the physical tools that made him a first-round pick. It'll be interesting to watch who decides to try and take a shot at developing Paxton Lynch next. Cole, that's probably going to have to wait until after Lynch clears waivers because he has almost $2 million in guaranteed money left on his contract.
Yeah, Emmanuel just took exception with me saying that there's a quarterback carousel in Denver. Case Keenum, clearly the starter, as you alluded to, Tom. We're going to check back in with you in just a second, so don't go too far. But when it comes to Paxton Lynch, 1-3 as a starter in those 4 career games. His completion percentage, well, it's over the magic number, 61.7, but he didn't do enough to keep himself in Denver. Now, Emmanuel, as we know, it's never easy to see guys go, but after all, it is part of the business side of the game.
It is. It's part of the business. Obviously, we talk about a guy that I played with for 3 years, I'm happy. I'm sad to see him leave, but I'm happy for him because he needs to change the scenery. I remember the second preseason game we're playing against the Bears. He goes in and the crowd's just booing him, and it does something to you as a player. And it reminds me when I was in Pittsburgh. After I got out of Pittsburgh, it was like I'm going to Denver, and they were loving me. They were like, look at this guy, look how fast he is. They're excited to have a new toy. And so for Paxton, it's kind of like you're going to a new high school, you're going to a new environment. You can be whoever you want. You can be whoever you want. You can be a rah-rah guy. You can be a happy guy. You can go in there with so much fire. And they don't know. But we know that, if he would have came in and screaming and hollering, we would have been like, that's not Paxton. That's what we wanted out of him, though. That's what we wanted out of him. And that's, I've had several talks with him. Hey, man, when you get in the huddle, man, you got to be this, you got to be that, you got to be that. But he got kind of stuck in his ways. And so he needs a fresh start, and I'm happy for him. But I'm sad to see him go.
Time now for a reinvention process of a one Paxton Lynch. What about the quarterback room now? Of course, you have Chad Kelly and Kevin Hogan. They're 2-3. They're going to be fighting it out. But Case Keenum, he's the number 1 guy. How do you feel about that room?
Yeah, I mean, right now, from a quarterback position, that's why I kind of got shaky when you said carousel. Listen,
it's just a video. We haven't set him up.
I know. Hey, last year I had 3 different quarterbacks I played with. The year prior to that, it was a quarterback competition. Then the Brock Osweiler payment. Look, I'm happy that I got a guy. Okay. So, but as far as the backup, man, I tell you what, Chad Kelly, he's one of those guys, man. Chad Swag Kelly. Man, he's the last one off the field. He wants that backup quarterback position. He sees himself as a starter. And they brought in a veteran quarterback. So we'll see. One thing that I always say, I trust in Elway. I trust in the process of where Elway wants to go. And if that's the direction he wants to go, then I'm all with it.
Okay. You want to keep the quarterback talk alive, guys?
Let's go for it.
Let's keep it moving.
We have a
and we'll
choice?
move to the Charm City. That's Baltimore, where the Ravens, they chose to keep 3 quarterbacks on their roster for the first time since a long time. And Robert Griffin III, the beneficiary of said decision. Now, RG3 currently listed as the backup to Joe Flacco, ahead of first-round draft pick and Heisman winner Lamar Jackson. So, Tom Pelissero back in the fold. Tell us how the Ravens came to this decision.
Well, Cole, the Ravens did get trade calls about Robert Griffin III coming off of a very strong preseason after an entire year out of football. What I was told today is the Ravens have no intention of trading Robert Griffin III. They were never going to trade RG3, and he will go into the season as Joe Flacco's backup. That makes some sense when you look at how they're structured right now in the quarterback room. They have the rookie Lamar Jackson, who really needs time to learn the NFL game, get up to speed on everything. And the expectation is we're going to see Lamar Jackson on the field in different ways in that offense. That's not something you generally want to expose your only backup to. So they'll dress Robert Griffin III. Jackson will get to sit back, learn, and also, Cole, probably get to do some cool stuff out there.
Yeah, there could be some RG3, Lamar Jackson packages if we look closely enough. Tom Pelissero with the very latest good stuff, my man. Thank you as always. Let's get up to speed around some headlines. Antonio Gates out running Father Time. Gates and the Chargers coming to terms on a deal. The 1-year contract bringing the 38-year-old tight end back for his 16th season. The Chargers releasing Gates in April, but they lost their starting tight end Hunter Henry to a torn ACL just a month later. And the Saints, they're adding more depth in their backfield. This, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. New Orleans, they are signing former Patriots running back Mike Gillislee on a 1-year deal, which could help lighten the load during Mark Ingram and that 4-game suspension. Gillislee released by New England yesterday.
Still to come on NFL Total Access. It's been 201 days since Super Bowl 52.
If this is a dream, don't wake me up.
The confetti has settled, and for Philly, it's time to defend the title. Foles is in, Wentz is still out, and Peterson is fired up.
It was my decision.
Last time Foles played the Falcons, and he'll be sacked. Things were rough. Coach, you nervous?
I'm not answering the question.
Plus, Monster Mac lands in Chicago,
It's been a whirlwind.
and Khalil is ready to go.
Want to win. Yes, sir.
Baldy's telling us how. And days before he takes the field, Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders dishes on Denver's new-look offense, his chemistry with Case, and his high praise for the rookies. Stick around. Total Access rolls on next.